I went to my brother's engagement party and got mocked for being broke. Then they mentioned my own company. Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm 34. And last month, I went to my younger brother's engagement party, where the bride's family openly mocked me, bragging about their executive positions at a major conglomerate, totally unaware that I'm the CEO of the entire thing. Let me back up. The invitation came in a thick, glossy envelope that screamed old money. My brother Caleb was getting engaged to some woman named Samantha Whitmore. I hadn't even known he was dating anyone seriously. We hadn't talked much in the past year. Distance and differences had turned into silence. I stared at the invite a long time. The venue? The Crest Hill Club, a fortress of generational wealth and champagne arrogance. I could practically hear the echo of cashmere and judgment in the marble halls. Still, he's my brother. And if I skipped it, Mom would guilt-trip me into the next century. I run a company called Lynx Systems. You've probably never heard of it, unless you've ever stepped foot in a hospital, clinic, or breathed near an insurance provider. We build back-end AI for healthcare management. Quietly, cleanly, globally. 12 years ago, I started it from my dorm room with a busted laptop and an over-caffeinated brain. Now, we've got 18,000 employees across 6 countries and a valuation sitting just under $28 billion. But no one in my family really knew that. On purpose, I kept it vague. I work in tech. Let them assume I was still coding from my kitchen table. So when I showed up to the engagement party in my 5-year-old Toyota, wearing a wrinkled button-down from the back of my closet, I already knew I was going to be underestimated. I just didn't expect to be humiliated. And definitely not by the family of the man about to become my brother-in-law, who reports directly to my executive team. Yeah, this was going to be fun. The Crest Hill Club looked like the kind of place that charges extra for breathing too hard on the wallpaper. I parked my car between a Bentley and a Porsche that looked like it came with its own trust fund. The valet gave me a look like I'd just shown up in a horse-drawn carriage, but I handed over the keys with a nod and walked in. The party was already in full swing. Champagne towers, string quartet, and enough silk dresses to curtain the Vatican. My mother practically dive-bombed me the second she saw me. Ethan, you came. She whispered like I was a flight risk. Come meet Samantha's family. They're very accomplished. That word. Accomplished. I already hated them. She pulled me toward a tall man with a Rolex bigger than his personality and a woman who looked like she hadn't smiled since Reagan left office. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore. Ethan, this is Daniel and Cecilia, Mom beamed. Samantha's parents. And this, she added, is my oldest son. He works in, software? Cecilia gave me a once-over that could have stripped paint off a Tesla. How quaint, she said. What sort of software? Healthcare systems, I replied. Small firm. Small is safe, Daniel chimed in, swirling his drink. You'll never make real money, but at least you'll sleep well. I smiled politely. Something like that. Then came the part where I realized Karma had a dark sense of humor. Caleb told us all about you, Cecilia said, sipping from a glass I'm sure cost more than my first month's rent. He said you're the quiet one. Grounded. Meanwhile, our Samantha is marrying into tech royalty. Daniel laughed. Our future son-in-law, Ryan, is a senior executive at Lynx Systems. Massive firm. Billion-dollar contracts. We couldn't be more proud. My smile froze. Ryan Whitmore, her older brother, one of my senior division heads, worked at Lynx for 6 years. Sent me quarterly reports. Occasionally replied with gifts. He's instrumental in product strategy, Daniel continued. Practically running the place. Practically, I echoed, wondering if Ryan's job description had changed without my approval. And we were just saying, Cecilia added. Maybe Ryan could help you out sometime. A little mentorship. Maybe get your foot in the door. That sort of thing. I bit down on my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Because what they didn't know, what Caleb didn't know, apparently, was that Ryan didn't just work for Lynx. He worked for me. I spent the next hour smiling through clenched teeth as the Whitmores held court, casually handing out career advice to the little software guy, aka the founder and CEO of the company their golden boy worked for. At one point, Cecilia even said, You know, Ethan, it's never too late to think about pivoting. Ryan could get you into product testing or support. Everyone starts somewhere. I nearly asked her if she wanted me to clean the Lynx bathrooms too, just for the full entry-level experience. Then Ryan arrived. He was exactly as I remembered. Sharp suit, slick smile, handshake like he was closing a merger every 5 minutes. He looked me in the eye, clearly with no idea who I was. Ethan, right? Caleb's brother, he said, all charm. Good to meet you, man. You working in tech too? Yeah, I said. You could say that. Nice. You looking to make a move? Because honestly, I've got a lot of pull at my company. Big stuff happening. We're scaling like crazy. Link Scion, right? He grinned. You've heard of it? Sure, I said. Here and there. Cecilia leaned in. Ryan's been on the fast track for VP. Just had lunch with the CEO last month. Didn't you, darling? Ryan's smile flickered, just for a split second. Because he hadn't. I knew that because I hadn't had lunch with myself last month, let alone him. Yeah, she's very hands-on, he lied smoothly. But loves what I'm doing with the product pipeline. I stared at him. Did she mention that directly? Oh yeah, he said, big praise. Said she sees me as essential leadership material. I took a long sip of my drink, trying not to burst out laughing. He was so deep in his own fantasy, he didn't even notice Caleb walk up beside him, looking flushed and excited. Ethan, Caleb said, what do you think of the place? Samantha wanted something elegant. It's nice, I said. Classy. Subtle. Definitely not overcompensating. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You know, Caleb went on, I was thinking, with your background and Ryan's connections, maybe you two should talk shop. Could be a great opportunity for you. I nodded slowly. You're right. I think we're overdue for a very honest conversation. Because I had seen enough. And I was done being underestimated. The next morning, I walked into my office at Link Scion a little earlier than usual. My assistant, Jaina, was already there. As always, coffee brewed, schedule prepped, murder eyes primed for anyone who dared mess with the calendar. Morning, she said, sliding a folder toward me. And before you ask, yes, Ryan Whitmore's updated Q4 projections are in here, along with the HR complaints you flagged. Thanks, I muttered, rubbing my temple. How bad is it? Jaina gave me a look. Define bad. One developer wrote, working under Ryan is like watching a TED Talk with no off switch. Lots of talk. No action. Yikes. I flipped through the pages. Ryan's team had some of the worst internal morale scores in the company. Turnover had quietly doubled. And one particularly damning review from a lead engineer mentioned habitual credit snatching and invisible contributions during crunch time. It was almost impressive how someone could do so little and take so much credit. But the cherry on top? An internal email chain where Ryan referred to himself as the strategic mind behind LinkedIn's vision. I checked the timestamp. That was sent 3 days before he offered to help me get in at my own company. By noon, I had HR, legal, and the VP of operations in my office. I'm not looking to fire him, I said, but I want a full departmental review. Anonymous feedback. Project audits. Everything. You want it flagged as disciplinary? HR asked. No, I said. Flag it as strategic restructuring. Let's see how he handles accountability. Later that afternoon, I typed up an email and sent it directly to Ryan. Subject, alignment discussion, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Ryan, please meet me in Executive Conference Room A for a discussion on strategic alignment and leadership performance. Regards, Ethan Shaw, CEO, Link Scion Systems. The read receipt came in 12 seconds later. He replied, predictably, happy to connect. Looking forward to syncing up with leadership. Appreciate the opportunity. I sat back in my chair. Oh, Ryan, you really shouldn't have tried to mentor the guy who signs your paycheck. Ryan showed up to the meeting 3 minutes early, which for him was basically a sign of panic. He wore a sharper suit than usual, probably one of those just expensive enough to scream ambition brands. Hair gelled, smile weaponized. He clearly thought this was his big break. Mr. Shaw, he said, stepping into the conference room like he was accepting an award. Appreciate you making the time. I wasn't expecting to hear from you directly. Take a seat, I said, motioning to the chair across from me. He sat, still smiling, but there was a tightness to it now. Like he wasn't sure if this was a promotion or a firing. I wanted to discuss your role, I said, folding my hands. There's been some inflation around how it's been described. His brow twitched. Inflation? Inflation, I repeated, like claiming lunch meetings with me that never happened. Or describing yourself to clients as a strategic architect of LinkedIn's executive vision. He tried to laugh it off. You know how clients are. They respond to titles. Sometimes you have to speak their language. No, I said flatly. You speak our language. You represent this company. If you're inflating your role to clients, that's a problem. If you're doing it to your family at social events, well, that's just embarrassing. Ryan's face went from confident to confused to cornered in less than 10 seconds. Look, he said, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This feels personal. Is this about the engagement? Samantha? Caleb? No, I said. This is about leadership. You're technically good at your job, but you're a disaster for your team. 3 resignations in 5 months. 2 formal complaints. And enough ego to power a small country. He didn't say anything, just sat there blinking. This wasn't the meeting he thought it was. I'm giving you a choice, I continued. You enter an intensive 6-month leadership and ethics development program with quarterly reviews and 360-degree team feedback. Or you walk. His mouth opened, closed. So that's it. I'm being demoted? You're being given a lifeline, I said. Take it. Or go tell your parents you just got fired by the guy you tried to mentor at a party. Silence. And then, the smallest nod. I'll do the program, he muttered. Good, I said, standing up. And Ryan? He looked up. Tell your parents to stop offering me job opportunities. It's weird. Word traveled fast. By the end of the week, Ryan had been quietly enrolled in the company's leadership redevelopment program, or, as the engineering team called it, CEO boot camp. His team was informed that he'd be working under increased oversight and that anonymous feedback would now factor into every quarterly review. HR told me later he spent most of that Friday pacing outside their office like a stockbroker who just checked his crypto portfolio. Meanwhile, I got a call from my mom. Sweetheart, she said, using the voice she reserved for dentist appointments and family interventions. Did something happen with Ryan? Why? Well, she sighed. Caleb mentioned he seemed tense. Samantha says he's been distant. And the Whitmores haven't called in days, which is highly unusual. Daniel's usually texting stock tips by now. I rubbed my forehead. They probably just found out their VP in waiting is being evaluated for basic management skills. Silence. You know about that? She asked carefully. I run that, I said. Mom, I'm Ryan's boss. A beat passed. Then another. You mean, you're above him? No, Mom. I'm above everyone. I founded Linkscion. I'm the CEO. The sound of her jaw hitting the floor might have broken something in the kitchen. You're the CEO, she whispered. Our Ethan? The one who used to sleep through church and glued his fingers together with a drum kit? Same Ethan. She made a sound halfway between a laugh and a gasp. Why didn't you tell us? Because every time I try, you interrupt me with questions about whether I'm eating enough vegetables. But Caleb didn't know. Samantha didn't know. The Whitmores. Nope. Oh, they're going to die. Let's not hope for that, I said. Just a little public humility will do. Oh, honey, she said, and I could hear the shift in her tone. That mixture of awe and guilt only a mother can manage. We had no idea. You've built all this, and we just thought, well, that I fixed routers for a living? She chuckled. Maybe. And I'm sorry. We should have asked more. Or listened better. Yeah, I said. You really should have. There was a pause. Do you want me to tell Caleb? No, I said. I'll handle it. Because the Whitmores might have embarrassed me in public. But Caleb? Caleb had assumed I needed their help. And that part stung the most. Caleb showed up at my apartment that Sunday, holding 2 coffees and wearing a sheepish grin that screamed, I did something, and I hope you don't kill me for it. Hey, he said, holding one out. Almond milk, no sugar, just how you like it. Thought we could talk. I took the coffee, gestured him inside, and braced for impact. So, he began, not quite meeting my eyes. Ryan told me about your little meeting. Said you kind of lit him up. Lit him up. I repeated. That's a gentle way to describe a full-scale reality check. He's upset, Caleb said. He thinks you blindsided him. Because he got caught lying? Or because he tried to mentor his boss at a party? That shut him up for a second. Look, he sighed, he exaggerated. I get it. He wanted to impress my in-laws. They're intense. You've seen them. Oh, I've seen them, I said. I survived them. Caleb sat down, rubbing his hands together. You could have told me, you know, that you were the CEO of Linkscion, the company I've been bragging about to Samantha's family, like you'd be lucky to sweep floors there. I took a slow sip of my coffee. Would it have made a difference? He looked up, caught off guard. If I'd told you 5 years ago, 10, when I was starting out, when I was pulling 18-hour days building something you didn't ask about, would it have changed how you saw me? He blinked. I didn't mean to. You didn't see me, Caleb, I said. You assumed. Just like they did. You listened to a guy with a nice watch and a smooth voice and decided he was the success story. I was just your weird older brother who didn't go to grad school. That's not fair, isn't it? Silence hung between us. I'm sorry, he said finally. Really, I never meant to make you feel small or invisible. I looked at him. He meant it. I could see it in the slump of his shoulders, the regret in his eyes. And for the record, he added, Ryan's kind of a tool. I think I knew that. I just didn't want to admit it. Tool's generous, I muttered. He's a PowerPoint come to life. Caleb laughed, which broke the tension a little. You gonna tell Samantha? He asked. No, I said. That's your call. He stood, nodding. Well, thanks for not firing him. I came close. I'd have supported it, he said, opening the door. Even if Mom wouldn't. Just before he left, he paused. I'm proud of you, man. I know I never said it before, but I really am. That hit harder than I expected. And for the first time in a long while, I believed he meant it. The company-wide town hall was scheduled for Thursday at 10 a.m. sharp. It was the first one I'd ever done. No delegation, no scripted video. Just me, standing center stage at our Boston headquarters with the broadcast live-streamed to over 18,000 employees around the world. Jaina had insisted on a teleprompter. I tossed it. I wanted to speak as me, not as some ghost in the machine. The room was packed. Cameras were rolling. Screens lit up with faces from offices in Berlin, Toronto, Singapore, Chicago. All eyes on me. I stepped up to the mic and said, Hi, I'm Ethan Shaw. Some of you may know the name. Some may not. That's on me. I paused, taking in the stunned looks of people finally realizing who I was. I founded Lynxion Systems 12 years ago, in a dorm room, with $36 in my bank account and Wi-Fi that barely worked. Since then, this company has grown beyond anything I imagined. Thanks to all of you. There was a soft ripple of applause, but I held up a hand. I've stayed behind the scenes on purpose. I thought it kept things simpler, cleaner. But that distance, it created confusion. It let people take credit they hadn't earned. It let others be overlooked. And that ends today. Then I laid it all out. The new transparency initiatives, the recognition programs, the zero-tolerance policy for credit theft, the elevation of developer voices, and team-first leadership. I didn't name Ryan. I didn't have to. The entire speech was a mirror held up to people like him. When it ended, the standing ovation wasn't for me. It was for the people who finally felt seen. And that was the point. That was the beginning of something better. 3 days after the town hall, I got a text from Samantha. Hi, Ethan. Can we talk? Alone. It's important. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. No Caleb. No Whitmore entourage. Just her, dressed down in jeans and a blazer, hair in a loose bun, makeup minimal. She looked tired. Thanks for meeting me, she said, stirring a tea she hadn't sipped. I'm not here to defend Ryan. I raised an eyebrow. That's refreshing. I'm here, she said, because I feel like an idiot. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. My parents have been bragging about Ryan for years. VP this, strategic genius that. And I believed them. I never questioned it. Even when he talked over people, or ignored my ideas, or made me feel like I should be grateful he was interested in me. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You know what he said when he found out who you were? Your brother set me up. Like he was the victim. Sounds familiar, I muttered. I asked him if he loved me, she said, eyes locked on mine. He didn't answer. He just started listing reasons we made sense, on paper. My jaw tightened. I'm calling off the engagement, she said. The dress, the venue, all of it gone. My mom is already losing her mind. I nodded slowly. Good. You deserve someone who sees you, not just your resume. She smiled, then looked down. I wish I'd known the truth about you earlier. Why? I asked. Would that have changed anything? Maybe not, she admitted. But I wouldn't have stood there, listening to my dad offer you a junior admin role at your own company. We both laughed, a real one this time. Before she left, she stopped at the door and looked back. Whatever people say about you, Ethan, you're the real deal. Don't ever forget that. And just like that, Samantha Whitmore stepped out of the story. Her chapter closed. But mine? Mine was just getting interesting. 2 weeks later, Ryan resigned. He called it a strategic career pivot, but everyone knew it was code for got out before I was pushed out. His exit email was a masterpiece of delusion, buzzwords, vague gratitude, and a long-winded thank you to upper leadership for the opportunity to contribute to LinkedIn's vision. No mention of the performance reviews. No nod to the team that propped him up. Just a self-congratulatory mic drop from a guy who couldn't spell humility with a cheat sheet. HR forwarded me the exit survey. One of his final comments. I believe my leadership style was ahead of its time. I snorted so hard Jana knocked on my door to check if I was okay. Caleb didn't say much when Ryan left. Just a brief text. He's gone. You were right. Again. We didn't talk about Samantha much either. He was still adjusting to the idea that his wedding had been canceled and his future in-laws had ghosted like they were dodging subpoenas. But something had shifted between us. He started calling once a week. Just to check in. No agenda. No pity. Just to be my brother again. At Link Scion, things changed fast. The peer recognition program exploded, hundreds of nominations pouring in. People started praising each other. Cross-team appreciation. Engineers nominating product managers. Marketing giving love to support staff. It was chaos. The good kind. One afternoon, I walked into a developer's meeting unannounced. The room went silent. I pointed at one guy in the back, Jeff, a junior engineer who'd quietly rewritten a broken algorithm that had stalled a major client project. You're the one who fixed the dynamic rendering issue, right? He blinked. Yeah. Nice work, I said. You saved us $1 million contract. That's not nothing. He turned so red I thought he might pass out. People talk about billion-dollar companies like they're these giant machines. But they forget, it's just people. People who show up every day, often unnoticed, and do the kind of work that makes the difference between success and failure. Ryan forgot that. I never would again. 6 months after the engagement party, I pulled into my parents' driveway. Same modest house, same squeaky screen door, same overcooked roast waiting in the oven. But everything felt different now. Mom hugged me longer. Dad didn't bring up retirement stocks within the first 5 minutes. And for the first time in years, nobody asked me if I still did that computer thing. We sat on the back porch, sun dipping low behind the trees, lemonade in hand. How's the company? Dad asked. I smiled. Loud. Fast. Brilliant. We just hit 20,000 employees. He whistled. Still driving that same old Toyota? I like the Bluetooth. He shook his head. You're ridiculous. Mom joined us with a plate of brownies, still slightly burnt on the edges, just how I like them. She sat down, looked over at me, and said, We're proud of you, Ethan. I believed her this time. Not because of the money or the title, but because they finally saw me, all of me. Later that night, I got a text from Caleb. Samantha's seeing someone new. Works for a nonprofit. Environmental stuff. She seems happy. That's good, I replied. Then another message. You seem happy too. He wasn't wrong. The truth was, I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to humiliate the Whitmores or blast Ryan's ego into the sun. Watching their assumptions crumble under the weight of reality was satisfying enough. They thought I was a nobody. They tried to offer me a hand up to the company I built. But I didn't need their validation. Because I had something they didn't. Real impact. A company I believed in. People who trusted me. And a brother I finally had back. Success isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet confidence. Sometimes it's showing up with kindness when others come at you with arrogance. And sometimes success is just driving home in the same old Toyota, music up, windows down, knowing damn well you're the richest man in the room, and no one saw it coming.